All right, YouTube, back out here in the wood shop. Um, you know, the wood shop is my Hazu Builds thing where I do my woodworking and whatnot. But this is another venture for me. Being that I spent the last couple years following politics and just this crazy world that we live in um, on a nightly basis, I decided to start a channel where I'm going to call, I think we're going to call it Hazu Rants more than anything, because I have a tendency to just spin off and keep going. I go from one thought to another, pretty rapidly. So I consider them rants more than anything. Um, we're living in the crazy times right now. Last night was the State of the Union, if you could call it that. I'm not really sure that he covered the state of the union and where we are in any way, shape, or form. It seemed more like a campaigning tool. Like, I guess with the midterms coming, we last night we heard a lot of promises about the things that we're gonna do, how we're gonna secure the border, how we're gonna help the Ukraine, how we're going to lower the price of insulin, how we're gonna take care of our veteran affairs and their mental health and whatnot, how we're gonna make prescription drugs cheaper, and even we're gonna cure cancer, which is fucking bravo. Bravo, we're gonna cure cancer. I remember when he campaigned on the idea that he was gonna cure cancer. I don't know, when Trump was the sitting president, there was a point where during the nomination process, when it was all those Democrats that were trying to get the nomination nod, and one of the times Biden was on stage somewhere and he said, "If you elect me, we're going to cure cancer." And I don't, no one ever called him out on it. And, of course, no one's going to call him out on it. But, like, it makes me wonder, um, was that kind of like saying, if you elect me, I'll cure cancer, but if you don't elect me, you're on your own? Kind of sounds like it. But anyway, so he brought it back out of the bag last night. We're back to curing cancer, and I'm not. I hope he does it. That would be fantastic. I lost an uncle to cancer. My mom has had cancer. And I know a few people that have had cancer. I know a lot of people that have lost people to that disease. So if he's able to do something and cure cancer, rock on. Who could be mad at that, really? Um, but beyond that, I mean, the State of the Union. What did we learn last night? Oh yeah, we beat COVID. Congratulations. Take a bow, round of applause. We beat COVID with the I guess with the vaccine and the mandates and all these things. It's interesting, the timing of it, right? Like, we're beating COVID just in time for the campaigns to begin for the midterms. Make everybody have this nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside them about how your life got back to normal, all because of the Democrat leadership. Yeah, I'm skeptical. I'm not going to buy into that, and I'd be cautious of anybody who would, because I don't know, they're seeing things through some distorted glasses, that's for sure. Um, with that said, where are we at? 4 or 5 minutes in already. Okay. Let's talk about Ukraine, because there's a few things that have come out in the media in the last few days, and of course, I don't trust the media per se. I don't trust any of it. I don't trust Fox. I don't. They all have an agenda or some kind of spin that they're trying to do. But some of the obviously some of the things that they say are true. It's just a matter of, can you decipher what they say or the facts of what they say and remove the spin tactic, and so that you can you know objectively look at it. I find this interesting. The Ukrainian President Zelensky is a trained actor and comedian, which, you know what, that's kind of neat. It's a neat storyline. I guess it takes us back to the days of Reagan, because Reagan was an actor, and you wouldn't think that it was, you wouldn't think that that was a normal thing. And I'm sure it wasn't normal when Reagan was in office. And Zelensky being in office as an actor and a comedian is certainly quite rare. Um, but like the funny thing about it, or the weird thing about this whole system is that he, one of the shows he played on, he played the president of like an impoverished country. And I don't know if they were at war or what they were, but man, I'll tell you what, that's a really good acting job. He's got, guys like Brad Pitt and Jack Nicholson and Keanu Reeves and whoever else. They got nothing on this guy because none of them have ever acted so well that they got pulled and made the president of an actual country. I mean, that's quite the accomplishment, if you ask me. And I'm for sure not saying that he was elected president though, because there's a video that surfaced of Obama when he was in office and Joe Biden was the vice president, where Obama is just casually saying that they installed the president of Ukraine. And that's why they had this Democrat leadership or whatever else. But it wasn't an elected president for sure. He was installed by our government, which, if you go back and you look at this objectively, here we are, a country with no business in any of these other places, installing leadership in their countries. And look at all the scandals that have come out in the Ukraine since we installed Zelensky, right? I mean, wasn't that the thing that they impeached Trump over? Was that phone call, about the quid pro quo? Even though Biden sits on that stage in real time doing a quid pro quo, saying that if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion in loan guarantees, right? I mean, they're facts. They're things that actually happened. You got Joe Biden's son being on the board of directors for Burisma, one of the, for the oligarch, whatever his name is, guy worth like $20 billion or something like that. Looking for influence, looking for deals, looking for gas and petroleum deals. So what do? Good move. Hire the vice president's son. See where we get. See where we end up. But yeah, nothing to see here, right? That's what they say. Another thing is, I find this kind of interesting, and I'm actually a little shocked that some of these countries are going through with it, because there's not a lot of options if you are in Europe. And if you're in Europe and you need fuel, you need oil, or you need natural gas, what are your options? Russia. Russia's the main supplier of natural gas to all these European countries. And Russia was building that Nord Stream 2 or whatever? To the pipeline to get more gas, to be able to sell more gas on the market. And all these European countries, most of them are in NATO. And they're all, they've all been purchasing fuel from. All right, let me get back. As we were talking about, sorry for the interruption. My son was trying to give me a camera holder. Right now I've got the camera balancing against a steam can on top of a table saw. Why? Because it's the wood shop. And why wouldn't it be that way? All right, so where were we? Oh, all these countries. Germany specifically. This one really surprised me. Germany buys 60% of their natural gas and I think fuel oil from Russia. And Germany just banned Russia, or was one of the countries banning Russia from the SWIFT banking transactions, whatever that is, whatever SWIFT is. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but I do know that SWIFT is the thing that all banks in the world use. transfer money or you wire money or money goes from this account to that account, it all happens through SWIFT. So, and I guess they also must be the exchange base as well, because as we all know, you can't sell oil or gas on the world market without it being paid for in US dollars. So, with that said, no matter what happens, no matter what's been happening with with Russia and Ukraine and whatever else, every single time that any kind of tanker or shipment of fuel oil or natural gas has gotten shipped somewhere, you better believe U.S. dollars are used to carry that out. And now they've just gone ahead, and one of these sanctions is to take Russia off the SWIFT banking establishment. And you would think that would be a pretty heavy price to pay. Now all of a sudden Russia can't sell its main export. That's what their entire GDP revolves around, is their ability to sell fuel oil, right? Oh, but if you're friends with China, and China's already been trying to get their currency, that whatever that basket that they have, the yuan, they're trying to get the yuan to become its own world currency. And now that all these NATO countries have kicked Russia off of the SWIFT banking system, Russia has joined forces with China, and China is doing is sort of acting like their own SWIFT system. They're now, I guess they're taking, if a country, I guess, okay, let's just say for instance that Lithuania wants to buy a shipment of oil from Russia. They can't do it through the SWIFT accounting, SWIFT banking anymore. But what they can do, I guess, is they can take their currency and they can buy yuan or whatever that currency that China has is, and then Russia will ship that to them, and I guess that China can now exchange the yuan for their rubles. So in a sense, what you thought you were doing to hurt Putin and hurt Russia seems like it's backfiring in our face, which brings me to my last topic. And this is just kind of like speculation, obviously, but it makes me wonder. I don't know. I'm certainly not a believer in Biden or his policies or pretty much anything that he says. And so I realize that makes me a biased person about this. But I try to look at things objectively. I try to step back from scenarios when I see something happening or somebody's talking or whatever. And I try to look at it from a standpoint where I can withdraw my emotion, and I don't have to get angry about it or get emotionally invested in what the person is doing or saying, and try to objectively look at it and see if there's any kind of silver lining to this stuff, right? And I think about these policies, these things that Biden has been doing since he took office, and it just baffles me. It really baffles me. I want to go on and say that I think that Biden is intentionally trying to destroy America, a little bit at a time. And I don't know if he hates America. I'm gonna give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt right now, because I could sort of understand him hating America right now. Because let's look at his history, right? He lost a wife and a son in a car wreck early on in his career, which is a tragedy, and who knows what was going on in his life and his politics at the time that went down, and who knows who was involved or how it went down. Was it a thing where a car pushed him off the side of the road and they drove into off a cliff? I have no idea. I don't really know the details of it, but I know that kind of thing will obviously change a man. And then what happened? And then he had a son, and the son served in the military, you know, and Biden's quick to tell you about Bo and his contributions and where he served and this thing and you know whatever. Um, but Bo died. Bo died of a brain cancer, which is tragic. You know, he was a guy who was serving his country. I think he was a lawyer in the military, ended up being probably on the JAG or whatever that is. Um, but I'm pretty sure he was a lawyer. But yeah, I don't know if he died while he was serving or if he got out and was sick and whatever. But you know, to lose another son to cancer, and he was deployed, and you know, part of the State of the Union last night was talking about the toxic fumes from those burn fields that they have. I guess that's where they burn the feces and whatnot of you know, of where the all the platoons are based and whatnot, or I think that's what it referenced, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, now he's lost a wife and a child. Now he lost another son. You know, here in America, his last son is, well, we all know Hunter Biden. He doesn't get enough recognition for all his contributions, but you know, he's got them tied in with Chinese companies, tied in with Burisma, a Ukrainian company, children out of wedlock with strippers, videotapes of crack pipes, of him smoking crack and whatnot, which is, you know, interesting. Videos of him engaged in sexual acts with strippers and whatever else. He threw a gun in the trash, right? He threw a gun in the trash, like in a school zone. He lost 2 laptops that the FBI has, and for some reason are holding on to and not allowing any of this information, you know, that's on them to be leaked. You know, if I was Joe Biden and that was my last remaining son, I'd be mortified and devastated and embarrassed. And I might actually hate America at that point. I might actually just be like, what has America done for me? Took my families away, killed my son, and destroyed my other son, and destroyed my son. I've been in politics for 50 years trying to build a reputation, and the privilege and the wealth that I've accrued here in America during my tenure has allowed my son to become a walking, breathing, living scumbag who's been just utterly embarrassing me left and right for the last 10 years. I feel like at that point you could legitimately feel a certain way about America and maybe, you know, smile in the camera and talk about how you're going to make everything better and you're build back better or you're whatever the new catchphrase is, since no one caught on to that one, you know. But in the back of your mind and in reality, you're just like, let's burn it all down, you know, because you know, like, I was at the gas station this morning. I drive a newer truck. It's a 2019 Dodge Ram 2500, the diesel Cummins engine. And I'm sitting there in the morning, and I took it down as far as I can. I took it down to you know, the light was on, and I had to go fill up, and $4.25 a gallon. $4.25 a gallon. Unbelievable. I put $100 in the tank, and I wasn't even full when I pulled out of there. And what's today? Wednesday? I probably filled up on Friday too. So I filled up on Friday, 100. I filled up on the Tuesday before that, 100. Filled up today, 100. Probably will need gas again come Monday, 100. I'm putting like $800 or $900 a month into gas to do my job, to do what I do. I'm a contractor by trade, you know, and I'm spending like $1,000 a month. You know, I call that legitimate inflation, and I'm not about to stand here and say that this is a supply and demand problem. This is not a supply and demand problem, and I'm also not one to stand here and be like, okay, well, Russia has cornered the market on fuel oil because a year ago, 14 months ago, we were energy independent. Actually, if you were to go to my Facebook, I posted a, it wasn't a meme, I don't know what it was. It was just something I wrote, it was short, but I posted a little over a year ago about how America was the number one fuel exporter in the world. And I thought that was like bizarre that because I'm used to hearing OPEC, I'm used to hearing about Russia, it used to be Venezuela, whatever. But all of a sudden, when Trump was in office, we were the biggest exporter of oil in the world. And yet, if you were to look at our imports, we were the number 2 importer of oil in the world. And I thought, and this is what I posted, if you're the number 1 exporter of oil in the world, how can you be simultaneously the number 2 oil importer in the world? It doesn't make any sense. And then I found out what it was. We were the number 1 exporter because some law got changed, and we were allowed to sell our oil on the market and sort of name, our price, whatever we wanted to sell it for. So it was more profitable. Like, I guess if I don't even know who it is that it's not BP, because that's British Petroleum. It's not. I don't know who the companies that produce our oil are, but I know that it's cheaper for them. It's more profitable for them to sell it on the world market than it is for them to sell it to us for our reserves, for us to be able to use. And we don't have any refineries anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I guess it's more a matter of we sell the oil and then we import the gasoline and the diesel and the home heating oil and stuff like that. But yeah, it was an interesting time. We were the number 1 exporter of oil, and we're the number 2 importer of oil. And today, we're not even on the list as an exporter of oil, and we're still probably the number 2 importer of fuel, oil and gasoline and whatnot, and China being number 1. And now China is allied with Russia, so I'm sure they're getting it for a better deal, and they're also helping Russia fund this war in Ukraine by letting them sell the oil under the blanket or in the basket of the yuan. But I do know this. I know that was a rant, and that's what I do. But I do know this. I know you take this pen right here, you open up one of them books, one of those, what do you call them? He signed 90 of them since he took office. Those executive orders. Remember, Trump did a couple executive orders, like 6 or 7 of them, 8, maybe 10, and they were like, everybody was up in arms. Only a dictator would sign executive orders and not let something run through Congress and Senate. And since Biden has taken office, more than 90 executive orders have taken place. And I know with the stroke of not a pencil like this, because this is Home Depot and this costs like 40 cents. They're much more selective of the pens that they use when they sign these executive orders. I don't know if you know that or not, but like when they sign an executive order, normally they print a bunch of pens, and then the president will autograph those pens, and he'll give those pens away to the people who, I guess, helped lobby the bill or were like, pushing for it. Like, there's all this stuff about like when he, one of the ones when he gave Mitch McConnell a pen. And those pens are paid for by taxpayers, and they're not cheap. They're probably like $100, $150 a piece, these pens. They just have boxes of them. Here we are, the working cattle of America, working and being taxed, and yeah, they'll like sign an executive order and then they'll give these pens away as souvenirs, because that's what we do. That's what America, is all about, is expensive pens for your presidents to give out. But yeah, so anyway, with the stroke of a pen or a pencil, he could sign back into law and open these pipelines back up, and we could be in a week energy independent, and all of our prices of our fuel would go back down, which then would also, hey, in turn, you lower the cost of our fuel, then you lower the cost of shipping goods, and you lower the cost of shipping goods, then you're gonna get more truckers back on the road trucking things. You get more truckers back on the road shipping things, then you're gonna have more supply on the supply chain, and there won't be as much demand, and therefore lowering the price, if any of that is true, because that was the excuse that we were given, and that's why the economy is doing so well that it opened too fast, and you just can't keep up with the supply needed, or with the demand. You can't supply the demand, and that's what's causing this inflation. But I don't know. I think that's it for tonight. Looks like I went for about 27 minutes. But I'll probably try to do this a couple days a week. So look out for me on the next one.